Welcome to Make a Path Presents. My name is Ronnie Hayes. Today, let's talk The Walking Dead Q&A number 63. Alright guys, if you want to have your questions answered in the Q&A, make sure you follow the directions in the description. Let's get right into this. Armando Panici, what do you prefer, Comic Andrea's storyline? Who do you prefer to take Comic Andrea's storyline? Carol or Sasha? Sasha. And that's with the sniper. As far as their relationship shit, right now I'm not convinced Rick needs one at this point in time that is like Comic Andrea for the story. I still think there's plenty of time to come up with something for that. But I would say neither. I mean, yeah, neither. I don't want Carol or Sasha to have an intimate relationship with Rick because I don't feel it fits the story or the characters and their development so far. Katharina Cheka, you want to know if Judith and Carl will last to the end of the show? Maybe not both of them, but I think at least one of them most likely will last to the end of the show. Very sad potato. When will Carl be badass like Rick? We have to give him some time. We have to understand he's still young on the show. I know people want to rush it and just have him badass. I know he is a lot more badass now than he was, but we still got to give it time because, he's young and he's going to go through stages. He might even hit a stage where he thinks differently or he wants to do things differently. I don't think just because, it's Carl, I don't think he's going to be exactly like his dad. He might even be a little colder. I think that'd be a little more believable. Have Carl a little more detached than his father is. Send him in a different direction. But I think we still have another 2 seasons yet. Well, maybe another 1 season for sure. They might, if they do something specific with Carl coming up, we're going to start seeing the badass Carl very, very soon. Epic Gamer Dude 123. If something bad happens in the Walking Dead comic, will you stop watching? Well, no, I wrote that wrong, I guess. Or you messed the question up. I'm going to say I wrote that wrong. If something bad happens in The Walking Dead, will I stop watching? Something bad happens all the time to the characters. No, but it might take a lot to get me to stop watching. Like I said, if they screw up the story in a major way, then yeah, I'll definitely stop watching because I'm in it for the story. If there was no story, I'm not interested. I am a story-driven fan. I love the story. So if the story started going to shit, then I would stop watching. But again, it does not look like they're doing that at all. Or there's just no chance of that happening. So far, that's what it looks like. Because their heart is in it, Jared Sturixzy. I tried. How will Jesus be introduced and who will first encounter him? You know what? I don't know at this point. Part of me would still like something similar to the comic book. I just do know right now that I believe with the Savior's introduction, it actually adds more weight to Jesus's comic introduction because in the comic, when Jesus first appears, they knock him out and go looking for the rest of his crew. Now that the Saviors have an altercation with Abraham, Sasha, and Daryl, it's more likely that Rick will be even more paranoid. So it looks like they're setting it up to be very close to the comic. So I'm going to have to, so far based on that, I'm going to have to say it's going to be very similar to the comic. Someone's going to go on a patrol run, checking the perimeter, and I'm going to say I'm at least hoping, for comic book's sake, that it is Michonne and Abraham, and they are talking about what's going on between Sasha and Rosita, in Abraham's life. And maybe even because of what Deanna talked to Morgan about, or Michonne about, maybe Michonne is opening up somewhat to Abraham, and that would actually fit very well with the comic book, as far as bringing some of the comic book to the screen. So that's where my vote is at this point in time. Felix L. Cat. Madison and Alpha. Okay, you're talking about having Madison from Fear the Walking Dead cross over the shows and eventually become Alpha. I see this a lot. I see this way too much. You know what? I think it's one of the most obvious things because you would never say that she's going to cross over and be Lily, would you? I mean, no, because Lily's not a hot topic right now. Alpha is. Alpha's recent. The only reason why our imaginations say, ooh, Madison could be Alpha, is because Alpha's new right now in the comic. If we were back then in the governor's storyline with the comic book, and Lily had just shot Lori and Judith and everything like that, and then we pushed forward in the comic, a lot of fans might have said, hey, what if Madison became Lily on the show, da-da-da, because that's what's current. So I think this trying to cross over and these ideas, I think it's only because of what's current now. But I still stand by what I said before. If Fear is supposed to be something outside of The Walking Dead's original show, they shouldn't do any crossovers where those characters are characters from the comics. If they do cross over, do not have them as characters from the comic. Keep them original, because it steals the originality out of Fear the Walking Dead. Love it or hate it, whatever you feel about Fear the Walking Dead, if you turn those characters into comic book characters, it takes the originality away from it. You can't say it doesn't, because then they're no longer original characters. They're just not. It's as simple as that. She will become Alpha and whoop-de-whoop. I stand by a firm no on that. I don't like it. Tabitha the Goat. You're saying that Glenn is not into killing, and will that get him killed during all-out war? Here's the thing with Glenn. Glenn doesn't want to kill. Glenn is not like Morgan, though. If you pitted Glenn in a room and you were like, I'm walking over to that gun, I'm going to get it, and I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill Maggie. Glenn will kill you. I think if it comes to that where his only option is to kill you, or you're going to kill him and Maggie, I strongly believe Glenn will kill you. Will it affect him? Yeah. So I know a lot of people bring up Glenn like that, but coincidentally, he just seems like he hasn't been in those situations where, it's either kill or die. I mean, he was in a couple, but if you notice how his story, weaved around those storylines, he has just got away from situations like that where he actually didn't kill. Now, he has fought, he has fought a lot. But he hasn't been in those situations where, he can't get out of this area unless he kills this person. And when he does, I strongly believe he will end up killing. So in all-out war, I think he can make himself useful without being on the front lines and killing. But if he gets in a predicament where he has to kill, I think unfortunately, for him, because he doesn't want to, but I think he will kill, if he's put up to it or forced. Max Dawn, you want my thoughts on All Life is Precious in a post-apocalyptic world. You know what? I am on the fence with it. I do agree that we can get lost in the madness, and that's kind of where Morgan's coming from. You also have to add in the fact that he went crazy and he became a villain, and he came back from that. So Morgan feels like a person who would say, yes, we do get lost in the madness, this world breaking down and no law and order, and the stress of that reality breaking a person's mind. But then he came back from it. So in Morgan's reality, or in Morgan's philosophy, he's not doing it just to say, all life is precious. It's not just that simple. He's also saying there is a chance they can come back from that. On top of the all life is precious. And I think that's hidden in there subtly. Merle was a piece of shit to a certain degree. If you killed him before he had a chance to redeem himself, then he wouldn't have redeemed himself. So in that way, all Merle fans, every Merle fan out there should not hate Morgan. I'll tell you right now, if you are a strong, hard Merle fan, you shouldn't totally hate Morgan, because by Morgan's philosophy, if you look at it, Merle is a perfect example of somebody who, went to the dark side and came back in the end and made it right. And that's what he's saying. Now, where he goes too far is where he can't look at someone and see, like, you know what, this might end up very badly. Like the wolf. I don't trust the wolf. They could surprise us, though. They can have the wolf turn around and be fine, and that would be a mind blow. Or not fine, but he could redeem himself, and that would blow our minds. But still, I don't think that's going to happen. Morgan done fucked up. But as far as using all life as a philosophy in a post-apocalyptic world, I think to a degree that is beneficial. but don't take it too far, because it will get you killed. Robert Jurgensen, some of my least favorite things about the TV show. Ooh, least favorite. You know what, real quick. First off, the squishy heads on the walkers, sometimes that irritates me. I despise digital blood. Some of it looks horrible. I know there was one scene where I think Daryl, it was up close where he stabbed a walker in the face, and it just looked fake. There's times where they do that and it looks so horribly fake with the digital, and it's like, man, how bad is this going to look when I watch it with my daughter in 10 years, you know? Is it going to be like, oh, damn, how did I even like this? Some of it, I'm saying, not all of it. Some of the dialogue gets a little thick, I like to call it, where it's like they trying to one-up each other with how poetic the dialogue can be. I mean, sometimes I just want that character that just talks normal, you know, like, you know, why did you jump in the car? Because you're fucking acting crazy, bitch, and I wanted to make sure you weren't going to off yourself, alright? Are you stable now, or are you still fucked in the head? You know, how hard is that? Everything doesn't have to be poetic. So yeah, sometimes the dialogue, but then again, when they do the dialogue right, I love it, you know? You know, little things like that. Those are some of my least favorite things. Little Buck 19. Thoughts on episode 1 of The Walking Dead, and you want to know where I thought it was going when I first seen it. I already talked about this a while back. When I first watched The Walking Dead, I immediately went outside. My best friend lived across the street, and I immediately went outside and talked to him about it, and I was like, this is the shit us zombie fans have been waiting for years, you know, for a decade, even a lot longer than that. What am I talking about? But I meant in my life personally. And I told him that this was going to be huge. And I called it the next Star Wars as far as having a big fandom. And this is no bullshit. I've been saying this since the very beginning of The Walking Dead, that it would be the next Star Wars. And people said I was nuts. And I still stand by that, you know. George Lopez, thoughts on Rick still being in a coma? I would quit. I would quit everything. I would burn all this shit. I would, you know, and I'd delete my channel, and I would never talk about The Walking Dead again. Having a twist like that is probably one of the worst gimmicks in Hollywood or entertainment, where you have something epic and then it's like, oh, it was a dream. You know, it makes everything worthless. It's meaningless. Besides, Robert Kirkman has already came out and stated Rick is alive. They are living this. It's not a coma. Also, it's impossible for him to be in a coma thinking about Fear the Walking Dead or the video games like Clementine and Lee. How's that shit going on if this is all in Rick's head? So the coma is fake. Don't listen to anyone talking about that. And if they did do that, it would cripple the franchise. Cripple it. Imagine going back and saying, oh yeah, Star Wars was awesome, right? Speaking of Star Wars, imagine if they did the first 3 movies and then they were like, oh, guess what? It was all in Luke's head. He was bored on that, you know, helping his Uncle Ben, and he was just daydreaming one day, and he was like, oh, I wish this would happen. You know, that would kill the franchise of Star Wars because you couldn't do the new movies now. Same thing with The Walking Dead. If it was a coma, it would kill the franchise overnight. The laundry pantry. The tower is destroyed, and you want to know what about the sniper now in All Out War? That's bugging me. They could do something. I guess they can erect something else. I mean, is there anything else that's tall that they can use for a sniper nest? I don't know. I did think that the tower was in an awkward position to do what they needed to do in the comics, so maybe they'll erect something that's in a better position as far as the sniping goes. On that one, I'm at a loss because it looks like they're bringing Negan in fast, so we're going to be doing all-out war, you know, probably at the end of next season, getting into it. And I don't know if they can build something that fast without a time skip. So your guess is as good as mine at this point. Christy Weir. You're asking if I had a night alone with Michonne. Wig or no wig? Are you kidding me? Full costume. Tyler Blackfield. Will you ever break down... Wait. Oh, will I ever break down other series? Yes, but I can't bite off more than I can chew right now, so I gotta wait till we expand, probably in 2016. Carlo Vera. Why was Holly killed off? Honestly, it's because they didn't need her. They remixed that story so much, they just didn't need Holly. Yuna. 1971. Is Daryl dull and boring? Stale and boring, sorry. Oh, jeez. You know what? Yeah, it's getting to a point, and I think it's because they changed his character so much. And it's, I don't know. Again, for me, it feels like that smart-ass part of Daryl. You lose so much when you get rid of that. Anyway, Cody Fields. Do I prefer linear or non-linear? You know what? I like them both. I think I would prefer linear, over non-linear, but it would have to depend on the story. But I love both. As long as the story's good, I totally support both styles of filmmaking there. Sean McFegan. If they capture Dwight, will Daryl give him his crossbow back? Listen, we just talked about this. How perfect is that? I think it would be awesome to not do it, to create a rivalry over that crossbow, Rick lets him go, and Daryl's like, okay, but I'm keeping the crossbow, and then Rick's like, dude, you gotta give it back. I think that is just perfect. Kim T. Would killing Glenn now with Negan be anticlimactic? No, I don't think it would, because the idea isn't to be shocking. In the comic book, it was shocking because it came out of nowhere, but when you're bringing something from a book already into a show, sometimes the idea isn't to be shocking. Sometimes it's just to be heartbreaking. So I don't believe it needs to be shocking, and I still think it would be climatic. I don't think it would be anticlimactic. That would be absolutely heartbreaking to see, because Glenn is such a decent person, and he has such a big fan base. It would be crushing. Deadhead 1989. Will they use the field truck RPG to take out walkers, making it manageable to fight them in the No Way Out story arc? A lot of fans are thinking that, and it's just, I don't know. It feels too convenient. It's like, oh, look what we found. Yeah, we gotta go. I don't know. I don't like it. They could do it, I guess. I just don't like the idea of it. I would just prefer they go, alright, we're gonna get our guns and shit, and then Abraham pulls out the RPG and shoots it at the bikers. The saviors. I'm fine with that. As far as going down and doing it there, it's possible. I don't know. It seems a little showy. I could think of 5 other ideas to do instead of luring them out with an RPG and blowing them all up. But listen, give me your thoughts and opinions. Thank you everyone who asked questions. This is a pretty long one. See if I could shorten it up. And if you want any more questions, find the rules in the description, and I got a lot more coming. Subscribe now.